All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hot Pudge IG Live, episode 30. I'm your host, Pudge Fernandez, coming in live, Queens, New York. And I'm going to leave New York right now to talk to our first guest, episode 30. Actually, it's our only guest. Yeah, I only do one guest. I don't know why I said first guest, because I never had more than one. So I'm still practicing this shit. But don't worry, I'm getting better at it. My podcast is coming soon. I'll be squared away by then. Anyway, let's get to our guest all the way from Denver, Colorado. Might be in New York. I don't know. She goes back and forth a lot, but that's pretty fucking cool. Two home bases of comedy. Mo Vida. Are you Denver or
Hey,
New York?
what?
You Denver or New York?
Denver.
Okay, you're in Denver because I know you got two home bases, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I'm
it's nice.
jealous.
I love New York. I miss New York. I'm okay with not being there during the pandemic.
That's fine, but you're from Denver, so that's just
Yeah,
it is
I'm
what
home.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm home. I came back from my mom. So,
that's okay. What's so? Actually, I had someone reach out to me. They wanted to know what's the comedy scene look like in Denver.
great. It's
Get the
good.
fuck out
Yeah,
right
and
now.
I mean, look, it's not what it was. It isn't for
Right, right.
anybody, but it's solid. I mean, I had shows every night this weekend. I was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're outside, or if they're inside, they're super distanced, you know. Like
Wow.
it's got to be 25 feet between the first audience member and the performer.
Right.
And then I think it's like 6 feet at least between tables. Uh,
Okay.
and a lot of these venues, like the show that I run at a theater, you got to sell table tickets. You can't, it's got to be, this
Right.
person, you're coming with this person. When you're
Right.
moving about, you have to have your mask on unless you're eating or drinking. We
Got
ask
it.
that so, but yeah, it's,
That's a lot way further than New York. Let me tell you, because we're just
I know.
we're in parks and rooftops. We're not indoors, and we're not permitted to perform outdoors. I mean, not in establishments. Only if it's a park or a rooftop or in somebody's basement on the down low. It's pretty bad here. We're suffering as comedians.
Well, and look, I mean, the spacing is different, obviously. You guys have a lot more to contend with. It's the space. I mean, we have space. I have a friend who, rents a house, or I don't know if he rents it or whatever, but there's like literally a field next to it, and he built a stage. And
Sweet.
then you come, there are other people who are doing drive-ins, like breweries have, just
Yeah.
parking lots in the back that they weren't using. So now they're doing drive-in comedy. Um,
Wow. So you guys have a little bit of everything. We had some drive-in comedy too, but you guys
yeah.
got the drive-in, the outdoors, the indoors. What's the percentage like right now as far as is it like a 25% capacity?
Uh, yeah.
About 25, you'd say?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not 50. It's
Okay.
it's 20, 25,
It's
maybe
not it's
30.
not it's not it's not permitted to have 50, or they just haven't hit 50% capacity.
Um, it's not. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. The numbers don't work that way, because
Okay.
with all the space that you need to have,
Right.
um, I don't think that most places can do more than 50% capacity, even if they
Wow.
wanted.
Okay.
So,
Well, it seems like everyone is even Jersey just announced that they're allowing indoor dining 25% capacity. So Jersey just took a leap
yeah.
today.
Our restaurants have been open. Our governor allowed bars. I look so dark. Do I look dark in this? I have like a
No,
million lights. But anyhow, so our governor allowed bars and restaurants to reopen, but then he shut down the bars again. Like if you're just a bar, when like those spikes started happening in like
right,
Texas and
right.
Arizona. But yeah, we have indoor dining. But even with that, because of the capacity issue, like there's a pub across the street from me. They had to basically take away a chunk of their parking lot, and they put up like, those white wedding tents
Yeah, yeah.
to put seating out there because it wasn't possible. you know?
Yeah, everybody did that out here. Every restaurant, every place has the white wedding tent or some kind of teepee or anything to make it outdoors. And some of
Right.
it looks nice. And New York announced that they're gonna keep it. They like what they see, so it's gonna be a summer thing. Every summer they're gonna allow outdoor dining. So that's something
Oh, well,
new,
that's
something
nice.
nice came out of it, from what I hear.
I mean, listen, it's human nature. We don't like change, and we especially don't like change when we're not the driver of it. But the truth of the matter is like people are making it work, and there are going to be some interesting things that come out of it. And on the one hand, obviously it sucks that the comedy clubs are closed, but you know what? I think it's giving rise and a lot of opportunity to comics who, maybe otherwise weren't doing those clubs anyhow, or now they're producing shows. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to believe that these type of difficult situations do bring about new opportunities.
Well, case in point, what I'm doing right now is my new opportunity because it forced me
Yeah.
as an artist and the creativity. You take the stage away, what's left?
Yeah.
So I fell into this, and you know what? I got going with my marketing and my social media, my YouTube channel, and all this productivity. And now I'm heading towards a podcast, hopefully later in the fall.
That's great.
So yeah, so I did embrace it for some things.
That's what I'm
It helped.
saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
so I mean, the way this all came together, right, is I think you were on Comedy Pete's show, and you know, even that, like I was talking about his show, and I'm doing an IG live, and there are people who are willing to come on these because they're not doing anything right now.
right.
And we would have never snagged those people before, because not even that they wouldn't want to do something like this, they would just be booked up.
Oh, everyone's all
Um,
over the place. When would you get them?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like I know recently I had somebody on who felt like, oh, well, I don't really want to do Zoom shows. I don't want to do comedy via Zoom, but I'll do an IG live,
Yeah,
and I'd love to because there's nothing else
yeah,
going on right now. So again, I mean, of course it sucks, but I feel like once you get over that initial, oh man, this stinks, you move on and you figure out, okay, what do I do? And for me, it's been awesome. I mean, I have done Zoom shows, and it's allowed me to work with comics from across the country who I never would have worked with. And,
okay,
I didn't have to be in town to do that
right.
show.
So that was my next question. You've done Zoom.
Yeah.
How do you feel overall? Because I've asked every comedian, and everyone's a little bit different, or not different, but it's either yay or
Yeah.
nay, and a big
Um,
nay.
yeah. What's funny? I feel like Zoom shows are just like regular comedy shows in the sense that there are ones that are run really well. There are ones that are not run well. The ones that are run well, they kind of figured it out. It's professionally done. You check in, there's a tech check, so they make sure everything's working. They have audience members, but they also know how to shut down hecklers or people who forget that they're not on
Right.
mute and decide to go through the
Okay.
McDonald's drive-through, shit like that. But
How was your
I
rhythm? How was your rhythm? I felt like I was swimming in a pool with no water. A lot of
um
comics said when they do a Zoom show, it's just the feeling's not there. It's like, the energy.
it's not. I mean, the energy is not there. It's not the same, but I think, I would rather do it. I mean, I guess the feeling is a little bit more open mic-ish in the sense
Yeah.
that, when you do an open mic and if you're lucky, you have some regular people there in the audience. But I feel like, you just need to do it. I mean, you need to power
Yeah.
through. And I would rather do it and get the words out and hear myself and tweak my
True.
jokes than just sit around waiting for things to go back the way they were, because they're not going to, not completely. And
No.
by the time we get back to maybe the clubs and things, I mean, a year might have passed. And to not be on any type of stage or not do any comedy in a year just because of that. I don't know. I mean, everybody should do what they feel best, but
As far as New York, everyone's predicting next spring.
yeah, but
As
that's
far
when
as
this
New
started.
York.
I know, but that's when this started. So that's a year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, the Zoom is a little weird for me. I mean, I found an open mic in the park in Queens. Tino has this underground mic in his basement apartment that he has like invitation only. So a couple of us have gone on Saturday nights to work out stuff. And there's actually a couple of things that did manage to happen. Mohegan Sun has their yearly competition that I
Yeah.
had signed up for before COVID, and they started it. I made it to the second round, so I'm waiting on my next date.
Nice.
So that was it. That was
Congrats.
interesting. And Staten Island, oh no, excuse me, the Fifth Borough Comedy Festival, which is Staten Island, the Fifth Borough. They're doing their festival this year, but all outdoors.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like shit's
So
happening. So if you're just waiting, if
yeah,
you're looking at the negative only and you're just waiting for, oh, I want this club to come back and I think that's what it is at this point. And it's
no,
okay. I get it. But I
yeah.
think for those people, it really is just more, um, I don't like change. I don't like that it's not the way it was. And I'm going to wait till it is.
Well, that they might be in for a rude awakening because
Jerry
things are
says
not going to
they're open November 4th.
with
Jerry,
who
I don't know who that is.
Jerry, what's open November 4th? We will be open. Who's we? I can't see the November 4th we will be open. More details, Jerry. More details. Okay, she's in Denver, I'm in New York. I'm in Queens. More details. What'll be open? Is there going to be a show? And am I invited?
Yeah, right.
It's going to be open. I don't care. USA. Huh. Oh, that's his prediction. November 4th, we will be. Oh, I see what he did.
Oh.
Oh, Jerry. Damn.
I don't think so because I think that, I mean, I see what you're doing, but I don't,
Yeah.
I think that's not really going to be the
It's
case.
going to be real. I don't mean, regardless of what side, anybody's on. I don't think this is going to be the magic election. I don't care who wins. I don't think there's going to be a magic election that's going to, the next day, everyone will be, yeah, we're open.
Well, they're not going to be. And here's the thing that people don't realize because a lot of people are continuing to blame the government. But the fact of the matter is at this point, a lot of businesses, if you sit down and you talk to the owners, they're really afraid of, getting sued because of COVID. And I mean, I just did a show where I had to sign a waiver saying, hey, if I get COVID, I can't come after you guys. So, that's a much bigger issue. So they're not going to want to pack their places. And then if we end up getting another spike and stuff, so it's not that simple.
Which everyone's predicting, October, November. Yeah. And yeah, you know what? I did have to sign something, a Mohegan Sun. They made me sign a waiver.
Yeah.
It's such a fine line.
And that's not the government. That's because we're a litigious society and they are like, okay, we'll do this, but we can't afford to get sued and lose our business. So, I don't know. Most stuff is open, but I think most governors are going to decide, what's right for their state. They're going to listen to the business partners or whatever. I don't know. I mean, Colorado is open but it's different, right? Like,
you
got to stop serving at 10. You got to, so we're open.
Yeah. And you're a legal weed state, so that helps.
Well, it's funny when this all started. I don't know, I can't remember, but like a few weeks into it, it was announced that like the following day, the mayor of Denver was going to close down liquor stores and dispensaries, and people were lined up around the block. They were not social distancing, and they realized that it was a much bigger issue, and it was a really dumb thing to say that. And he was like, okay, you can have your weed and your alcohol. So that never happened, thankfully. But like they did change the serving, like
Yeah.
again, bar restaurants have to stop at 10. Liquor stores, I think some of them I think they close at 8. So it's the hours that have
That's
changed.
interesting because a lot of people, again, both sides of the house and everyone's talking shit. They keep mentioning, especially here in New York, oh, the liquor stores are open. How is that unnecessary? How is that important? But you're telling me it happened over there and it was a shitstorm fast. So
Oh,
maybe
real
maybe it
fast. And
wasn't worth it.
I honestly don't understand. I would think, like, in my logic, and I realize I'm blonde, but like to me, it seems like you would want to have these places open however long they want to be open so that you're not packing people in.
Right.
If you're open till 10. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, in some
Yeah.
cases, I think maybe it just doesn't pay for them to be open, but
I don't know. Maybe control the hours, or if you're going to close everything, at least give them a cushion, not a couple of days where everyone's going to go wild and
oh,
there's
it
lines
was
of.
a disaster. It was such a
That's hilarious.
disaster.
That's hilarious. Okay.
It was. And it was just, I mean, it tells you where people's priorities are for sure. They were like, whatever, we don't care that there's no toilet paper, but you cannot. And I mean, I was one of them. I was definitely like, I want alcohol in the house. I don't need to drink it.
Sure.
It keeps. I said, but I want it.
I
Yeah,
tell you
before.
what. Yeah. No. No. I tell you what. I quit 3 years ago. I had to go to an
Smart.
outpatient rehab. I fell in a bottle, and
Yeah.
so I go to the VA, and I go to some classes and some meetings, and that was a huge issue when the pandemic hit and everything shut down, because you have all these. I mean, I'm just dealing with veterans,
Yeah.
but can you
Yeah.
imagine with all of society with alcohol issues or drug issues? Now they're locked down. They're locked. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a lot of people going to fall off, the wagon.
Well, I think there are a lot of people who maybe didn't have an issue or were semi-functioning, and are going to come out of it. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
real mind fuck. It really is. And I
Yeah.
think, I mean, the worst thing is you have to really face yourself. I, you
Every,
know,
I was saying, somebody was telling me that everybody's mental health, there's going to be some kind of turn, whether it be for the kids, some young adults, but this is going to be some weird shit this one year. Like people might get out and leave with PTSD,
oh, for
corona, or
sure.
some kind of social issue or social anxiety, or like you said, more alcoholics out of this because everyone's binge drinking at home.
Well, I mean, I think relationships, sorry, somebody's like
Yeah.
calling me. Um, it's like you really have to, just family dynamics. I mean, you can't run away to work. You can't, be at the office. I mean, you really have to, you're being forced to take a look at your life, yourself, your relationships,
Oh
who
yeah.
you're surrounding yourself
Oh
with.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
for some people it'll be great. And I think it's awesome that a lot of families are going to get back to basics. But I think, on the flip side, a lot of shit's going to fall apart.
No, ditto. I mean, I realized that the same assholes that were in my family before the pandemic, and they're still assholes during the pandemic, makes me realize, like, damn,
Yeah.
they were really scumbags the whole time. I mean, especially during. I mean, this was so real. This is global. This was the world, not just the city, the state, or the country. But how did some people not change or evolve, or like, it's not that we were life and death, but we're
It's a weird, the way it has been in America is very peculiar. And it's interesting too, because it hit other places first.
yeah.
So it's almost like we were watching this tidal wave come at us, but our attitude was like, that's not going to hit us. And it
Oh,
fucking hit us. And
that's
we're the
American.
ones,
That's the American way. We're like, we're good. We're cocky.
yeah. And
We're
then
number one.
it went, I don't know. It's so weird. And the fact that it became political, I mean, I think that's mind-boggling to the rest of the world, that it's
Oh my God.
politicized, and that, in a country that has some of the best higher education, that
Technically.
Well, like I'm talking about universities and shit,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's amazing. I know for like my relatives in Europe, they're like, "Well, you don't believe in science? Like, what is this? You've got like these huge groups of people that don't believe in science or whatever." And because it's been politicized, it's hard to know
Yeah.
what to believe. And I think
It's
both sides are doing it. I think
no, no,
there's a far left and a far right doing
no. They're both
shit.
guilty across the board. But I just couldn't help to notice last night. I love documentaries, and because I was in the military, I love the military ones. I was watching one on
Yeah,
Vietnam,
yeah,
and by Ken Burns, and I couldn't help but notice. But that era, it looks like we're going through that right now, because at that era there was a war, there
hmm
was politics, there was race, there was social. It was all. It was just one boiling pot, and it's the same thing now, with the
yeah.
exception of the war. It's now we have a pandemic instead of a war, so it's kind of a war. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like, holy shit, we live in the '60s all over again, right now, and it's not pretty.
History repeats, and people seem to forget that. And it's really interesting too, because well, I mean, before all this started, I read some really good books. Again, my parents being from Eastern Europe, and yeah, it's crazy that it's not even history like long ago. I mean, you can sit down and talk to an older relative and they
Yeah,
lived
it's
through
only
it,
like a
tell
few
you, and
years
nobody
behind.
wants to hear it. I know.
It's only a few. And here's the thing: what happened after the '60s was the '70s, and that's when everything is in New York anyway went to shit. And New York like couldn't get bailed out. Times Square was not the Times Square we know today.
I know.
Crime was, and that's where we're heading right now. There's more shootings and more crime in New York than there've been in the last 2 decades. So I'm just wondering. It's already repeating itself. I just wonder if it's going to keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, I mean, it's all cyclical. There's also going to be a recession. And, I think we have to be careful because some of this stuff that's happening is not because of COVID. It's because of how we progress. It's because history repeats, things are cyclical. So,
We don't
um,
learn. We don't learn.
it, well, no, we don't seem to like to do that. But because that happened during the financial crisis too. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I lost my job because of the financial crisis," and whoever was in office or whatever. And the truth of the matter is some of this stuff was already happening. It hit fast forward. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
something like movie theaters. People will complain. They'll be like, "Oh, well, all the movie theaters are going to shut down." Yeah, but honestly, Netflix was such a disruptor that was already happening. I mean, you have a
Yeah.
family of four where movie night in a theater costs $100 versus the $15 you pay a month for Netflix or whatever you're paying, So um, some of this stuff was already happening, but I think, yeah, COVID probably hit fast forward on it. But I think we have to be really careful to
It's
not just
forcing us.
lump everything in there.
No, it's forcing us to see ourselves. It's forcing us to change and think about the future.
Yeah.
Uh, I know I'm thinking about the future, not only comedy, but and just how to keep myself, because I drive Uber in a day, but I don't think that's going to be hitting like it was before. Uh, especially
Ah,
with
yeah.
tourism down, because so it's like you can't back in the day you can have a nice job. Now you never know when the next pandemic's coming.
But you know
So
what? I mean, it was a long time ago when you literally started at a company after you graduated high school. You stayed with that company until you retired. You were able
yeah,
to buy a house and get your kids braces,
that was a
have a
generation
car
ago. Yeah,
or more even at this point. So it's not the world we live in.
nope.
I've been working from home for the last 4 years, and everybody's like, this is so hard and da da da. And it's like, I mean, again, it's hard because it's change that was forced on you, but it was
Yeah,
already happening.
right. It's
So,
it's like when they raised the minimum wage in New York, and then all of a sudden they brung in computers to McDonald's and Burger King, and they're like, see, you're not going to get $15 because the computers were coming anyway. Self
oh yeah,
checkouts were coming anyway. So
yeah,
it wasn't because of the minimum wage and you're going to get everything was coming anyway. It was people gonna, gonna have to change. I mean, I already was taught, my son's in college, and I'm talking to him. I'll be like, what are you gonna do? What? Because,
Well,
you
I
know,
mean, we did like the show we were running in Brooklyn, that was going, we were giving money to a STEM program in Philly for young kids to take coding classes, and again, it's the same thing. You can sit around and say, I lost my job because computers came in, or you could say, hey, computers came in. Let me look into what kind of jobs there are that
what's,
I can
yeah,
do,
yeah,
you know? And there are, in fact, some of these areas having to do with tech, and they're not high level. I mean, it's not like you have to have a PhD in this shit.
no,
And they can't find enough workforce. But I mean, again, I think it's people just kind of crossing their arms and being like, I want it the way it used to be. And it's like,
no. You know what? And
I
I
get that
totally
you
get.
want that.
And you know what? That used to be me. I was that guy.
Everybody.
I was get off my lawn. I was that way with comedy. I was that way with comedy because I grew up, I guess, under the old school regime where you
Mhm.
just work on your craft, you write, you hit the stage, and maybe, back in the day when all it was going out there. And then came this evolution with social media, MySpace, Facebook, and YouTube. And then we see this new young generation like surpassing us. Not that there was, classes or
But
levels, but
it is almost
yeah,
like high school
yeah,
though,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching people pass me. I'm like, what the fuck? And I hated the social media, and I hated this, and I wasn't computer savvy, and I didn't know how to type. And eventually it's like, you got to throw your hands up in the air and be like, you know what? I got adapt or die.
Yeah.
Adapt and over, and that's what I'm doing, kind of thanks to COVID. That's what I've been doing. So I
Yeah.
gave up, and I'm embracing all this technology now and social media. And
I mean, yeah, it's not a fluke, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're, and it does have a domino effect, and it
yeah,
sucks. I mean, I get that it sucks, but when you again look back through history and not even that far, this is evolution. This is progress. This is not that part is not new. It is your choice what you do with it, you know?
yeah,
I mean, I look at my age and what I do for work, and we're starting to have that creep in. My day job being a recruiter who recruits people, I would love to sit there and be like, I can't be replaced. Like human beings, it's a human business.
yeah,
Well, to some extent, for sure, and so far. But AI is coming in, the disruptors of it used to be like Monster and LinkedIn and stuff like that,
yeah.
assessments, so tech is creeping in everywhere. And I started to look at it and I'm like, okay, well, what can I do to position myself better so that I'm not a relic, right? And I've definitely worked with people, again, who crossed their arms and they were like, I'm not doing that. I mean, the company that I started at in New York, I got there in 2000. So it was a tech company, like they did tech consulting. So the tech bubble burst. On top of that, in New York, 9/11 happened. I mean, shit, it was literally like Survivor every morning. You come into the office and you're like, okay, who's getting voted off the island? And the leadership was coming to you like, you need to do this, or can you learn this, or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I need a fucking job. I can't
Yeah.
afford to live here, without a job. But then there were people who were like, I'm not doing that. That's not part of my job. I don't want to learn that. And they lost their jobs. And then they blame me because they were
Yeah.
like, well, if you didn't do it. And I'm like, well, if I didn't do it, I would lose my job. And sorry, I'm not losing my fucking job.
Think
And
about
you were given the option.
that's your generation. That's now. And if you go back one or two before, that's the Detroit motive in the industry. That's what happened back then. Remember, Detroit was banging. It was all about the car industry. It was banging. It was booming, and everyone had a job in the factories. And they didn't. Nobody. Everybody got settled in. They got comfortable, and nobody
Well,
wanted.
and think about you had
Every decade
entire towns built
dry up.
on
Yeah.
well, yeah, but it was literally like the both people, breadwinners worked in that factory, and it makes sense. But now looking back on it, you go, yeah, well, maybe we shouldn't work at the same factory or in the same office, because if shit goes sideways, we're both losing our job. That means our income is gone. Who's paying the mortgage?
It's funny. Yeah. I guess if you live in a with the, husband, wife, or whatever dynamic, you want to diversify jobs. Somebody can be a laborer, but somebody should be tech, or somebody got to be union.
I think that's the smarter way to look at it. But
all right. So next time I get married, I got to find somebody, a teacher. That's a good union, a teacher. Because that way my medical's covered.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
I don't know. I'm trying to find the silver linings. It's funny. I had Eddie Brill on recently, and he was saying how he was talking to somebody, and they brought up the fact that after the Spanish flu came the Roaring 20s. So he's like, maybe it'll be good. Maybe, we're all thinking it'll be terrible. Maybe it'll be good.
I think cocaine's making a big comeback. I think there's going to be a big something like, okay, yeah, the Roaring 20s / after the 70s was the big cocaine boom, was the big Wall
80s,
Street boom, the 80s, the Wall Street boom. You see, so yeah, I think we got if not cocaine, there's a new drug coming. There's going to be
Adderall.
Something. It's going to be something. Like, it's got to be better than cocaine. It's got to be. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but yeah, if it's cyclic, something's good's coming. We just got to live through this shit. I'm actually trying to convince my son to, when he graduates, just go in the military, hide out for a couple of years, just lay low.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, you talk to people who go into the military, then they get their education paid for. Or if they choose to stay in the military, you can retire, sooner. And then those folks take that money or I don't know if you call it a pension, but and then they start another business. Yeah.
I've just told them, say, listen, it's going to be 3 or 4 years before we level out. Go hang out in the military. As long as you get 3 hots and a cot, you live comfortably. You know what I'm saying? You get a job. You see different parts of the country, of the world. Lay low. I think it's the best place to hide out. And it looks good on your resume, and you might like it.
Yeah, I mean, I anytime I see somebody having been in the military, I mean, you just immediately are like, okay, this person's disciplined. They've got a organization sense about them, so it's like, that's always attractive. But I think the other thing that we as Americans really need to learn how to do is stop living beyond our means. And I say that as somebody who does that, by the way.
No, absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
Other countries don't really do that the way we do. So when things like this happen, it's scary for everybody, but we really are fucked because, we live beyond our means. So it's
spoiled.
Yeah. And we're really, we're building I mean, it's a house of cards, I guess, if you want.
No, that's why I mean, when it comes to my kids, I'm in their ass about saving money and doing and thinking long term and putting money away. And I'm telling my son doesn't want a credit card. I'm like, no, if you get one
you need
now,
a credit card.
so you can build you're 22. If you know how to run it for the next decade, you'll be ready to buy a house at 32.
Yeah.
He has some money saved up. I said, could you spare $1,000? If you can spare $1,000, go buy some stocks and sit on it because stocks are going to drop. So now's a good time to buy.
Now is a great time to buy.
Yeah.
Now is an absolutely good time to get in on certain stocks, obviously. And, you don't need to get in on the really hot stuff. But also if you can find companies that pay good dividends and you can either reinvest those dividends or you can have the cash. It's not going to earn a lot in interest, but at least you have the cash, maybe invest it a different way. I agree with you. It's a good time and especially for somebody young, right?
Tesla. Somebody wrote Jason Tesla.
Tesla is way too expensive.
Yeah. But the stock split. Oh,
okay.
Here's me. Oh my God! It's
so
split.
It's only $500 now, or
$1,500.
Of course it is. That's what I'm saying.
We're getting the Dow Jones. Somebody put up Palestine or Israel. I don't know how. I think they're
I
on the
don't
wrong
know.
channel.
Yeah,
With
right.
fucking
I'll tell you
Corona.
what though, I bought Zoom.
Huh?
I bought Zoom
Okay.
before it really went up, so that's doing well for me. And honestly, I
Okay.
bought Facebook when they had that huge like privacy glitch and everything. And I was like, this is kind of affordable, and I
Right.
we're too addicted to Facebook, so that's done pretty well for me too. So
I'm thinking the same way because I've been doing the job. Uber. By Uber, I think the stock opened at 44, I think, but it hasn't been 44 in ages. Like it's over a year, and it's not doing well now. But now would be the time because I think because there's Lyft also.
yeah.
I don't know if they'll both survive. I think one will take over the other. So that's where I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, I mean, as much as people hate Uber, I'm guessing Uber is going to take over
I think it's
Lyft.
a necessity. I think it's a necessity. I think like people are addicted to Facebook. Uber is necessary. It's what made New York accessible. To
Well, I
like
mean, even outside of New York, you'd be surprised. Like, I'm always stunned how many people in Denver don't have cars. Um, they just do
Uber.
Uber or they use public transportation. And Denver is not exactly a walking city. And then, of course, if you want to go to the mountains and stuff. So I was really surprised. So, yeah, I mean, people are also, you have to understand, like, young people are living differently. They don't want the big houses. They're not even getting married as much anymore, you
I
know?
told you my son is one of those because I've been encouraging him to get his license forever. I used to have a truck. I was going to give it to him. He didn't want nothing to do with it. He goes, Dad, I'm good. I got the bus, I got the train, and I got Uber and Lyft. What do I need a car for? And I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, I get it, but it's still good to have a license. And I don't know. It's this new generation. It's totally different. They see
I,
things differently.
yeah, they do. But they also, I think, are learning from our mistakes, you know? Because
They see
again,
our debt. They see our debt.
well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And, these houses that uh, you can't even afford to heat them in the winter and shit like that, but that came out of like the 80s and the 90s. I think like the excess. And so there's still that keeping up with the Joneses type of thing. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I mean, young people nowadays are much more value thinkers, you know, like what is the value that I'm getting here?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is more and more want to buy from companies that are giving back or doing something good,
They have
like a
social conscience.
Tom's. Yeah.
They have a social. Yeah. They have a. Yeah. Which is hilarious because I didn't have one. 18, 19, 20. You think I thought twice about where I got
Oh,
my beer or my burger or any kind of clothing or music? It's like we didn't give a shit. There was
we
no.
didn't know. I mean, it wasn't really, yeah, it just didn't matter. It was like, buy, buy,
Right,
buy.
right.
But I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, with some of this stuff coming out of COVID, I think it'll be good because I think people will realize, like, shit, I'm living in debt. I need to not do that
Yeah.
because, I need to have at least 3 months or 4 months saved up. Um, I think people are getting back to basics and having dinner as a family unit and actually talking about their day and
Yeah. Yeah.
those aren't bad things. So I'm
No.
just trying to stay positive.
Yeah. I'm just. I have a saying: embrace the suck. I learned that in the military. Just embrace. You can bitch. You can whine. You can play, or embrace it and make
Yeah.
something out of it. And that's the way I'm going, and that's the way I'm trying to tell my kids, start thinking about the future, start planning. This is a learning lesson. You know what I'm saying? This is yeah, definitely. We're definitely
But also,
spoiled.
I think we have to redefine what suck means. And I'm not taking away from people who are really in dire straits.
Right.
But some of the people complaining, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Are you stuck at home in your beautiful house? I'm like, you have no idea what
Yeah.
a bad situation is if what you're complaining about is that you need to be at home or that you have to be with your kids. I'm like, well, you fucking made them.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
spend time with them. Now you know why their teachers hate them.
they're going to be the first ones to get a raise. Teachers, I think. I already predict from now on a parent-teacher conference. Parents are
I would
coming
love
with.
that.
I think parents are going to come with a little white envelope for the teacher. Hey, this is for you. This is for you. You did good because they appreciate teachers
That's
now.
so New York.
This is for you. Yeah, this is for you because I know my little Johnny. I had him. I had him during COVID. I get it. This is for you. This is for you. Every teacher gets an envelope
I hope
now.
so.
That would
They're
be
doing
nice.
God's work,
I'm,
and everything they have to deal with.
yeah, my wife and I were talking. We were just knocking on wood. And thank God that our kids are done with all that schooling. Because we have nieces and nephews, and
Yeah.
we're like, shit. How the fuck will we get through this?
And I mean, that's the thing is it's like really scary because with everything that's happening online and then God, the school shootings, I mean, those are rampant. And I don't know. We'll see. I'm glad I don't have kids either. I'm like, I would be a terrible parent because I would just be like, Mommy's going to lock you in the closet. Okay. You get to eat, but you just can't go out in the world.
It's different. It's totally different. And now with this COVID, it's going to be an interesting September here in New York because I feel like the kids are going to be guinea pigs to see what happens.
Yeah. You know what? People are really worried. And again, I'm not trying to like diminish anything, but if the flattening the curve worked, then
We did it.
statistically we're in a better place, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're sending your kids to school and hopefully that everybody, like all the parents, they've been good. Nobody has, I mean, if you don't have COVID, you can't give it to anybody. So,
Right.
And then you really just need to be like, look, don't lick each other. Don't sneeze in each other's faces. Wash your hands.
Don't lick each other. Tommy, stop licking. Yeah.
But,
no, oh my God, no more sharing. Now you got to tell the little kids, no more sharing. No, you can't share your cupcake.
And you can't, just to err on the side of caution, but again, realistically, you can't give COVID if you don't have it. So,
right.
If the kid who had the first bite doesn't have COVID and somebody else, another kid eats it,
yeah.
I mean, there's no reason to freak out. And I think that's where we need to come back and use logic and common sense. And, I get it. It's scary. We don't know. I mean, the other thing that I've been talking about is the AIDS epidemic, because that's what I grew up in when I was young. And,
Yeah.
people forget. But when that first hit, I mean, we didn't know things. And so we thought we could get it from sharing a glass of water, from giving a hug, from a toilet seat.
Yeah.
Like, people forget this shit. People forget how literally violence against gay people because of this shit. So again, history repeats itself, and I'm trying to learn from that and be like, you know what? Deep breath. We don't know stuff. So just be smart, try to avoid it. If you get it, or if you feel like you put yourself in a spot where you might have it, go get tested. Kind of self-quarantine. Don't try not to spread it. I mean, it's just common sense, but
yeah, and start eating and working out, which is what I already started because I was on that.
I got the eating part. I'm doing the eating part.
Oh no, I'm doing both. I got too many pre-existing conditions, so I'm
But I say this too to people. You have to remember, stress is a killer too.
Yeah.
And if it causes all sorts of issues in the body. And so, we just got to get out of that headspace of like, oh my God, the sky is falling, everything. And I say that as somebody who gets on Facebook and is like, I'm nauseous right now. Like, I have so much anxiety because I'm reading about how ridiculous and how hateful and violent people are becoming. And I have to put the phone down. Because I'm like, this is not good for me. I got it. Sometimes I don't watch the news. Like during the beginning of the COVID, I'd watch the governor, and that's it. Because he had a nice little briefing, and then that's it for the day. That was enough.
maybe social media, but then no matter which way you turn, something negative is coming flying right at you. I mean, I can't even now. I mean, here in New York, just this past week, because of the second shooting, the police officer with the gentleman, and now it landed in with baseball and sports and the boycotting of the games, and one of the New York Mets took a knee. And 1 minute I'm watching baseball, and now it's all over, and everyone's
Social
split.
commentary.
It's like they got nuts, and I'm like, oh God! It's like, I mean, just
You know what's really funny about this from like a psychological standpoint? The truth of the matter is, this tells you how good we really do have it, that this is the shit that's occupying our time. I mean,
yeah,
it sounds fucked up, but when you talk to people who have come from severe poverty or war-torn countries or like really severe
right,
things, they're
right.
just like, I don't fucking care. You know, like we live very luxurious lives if this is what we can get into a frenzy about. Because that means we've got nothing else to worry about.
First world problems.
Kind of.
Yeah,
I mean,
something
and,
like that.
you know, I'm not shitting on it. I take this seriously. I want our country to be in a better place, but at the same time, I'm like, it's one thing to acknowledge it. It's another thing to kind of discuss it. But to just go nuts the way everybody is, everything's an extreme thing now. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's maybe COVID's a good thing. It's the great equalizer. It's just gonna level everything out. Let's see. You know.
If you believe in science, yeah.
Yeah, Darwinism.
Yes.
You know, see who survives. I'm trying.
I'm
I'm working out.
okay. I tell, you know, like all these, I laugh like these people who will post pictures and they're like, oh my God, look at this crowd. And I just like hashtag it. And I'm like, thin the herd. Not everybody needs to be here.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. I can't wait. I'm just laying low, trying to lose a little bit of weight and just and hit the stage wherever I can. And
But do your
hopefully,
thing. I mean,
yeah,
you're doing shit, you know, like
yeah,
you
yeah.
said, it's been good for
Staying busy.
you. You're finding other avenues. You're getting your shit together for social media and all that. It's good.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta remember the stuff you need to be grateful for. Because if you're not ever grateful for the good things, you know, you don't really get more.
Yes.
Well, you don't, you know? I mean, if you're not
That's
gonna be grateful, you
yeah.
know.
You should. That's like a Mo moment. That was brought to you by Mo.
I
This
think
is
Jesus
the
said
a
it.
moment by Mo. That was beautiful. That was yes. You're absolutely
It's
fucking
not
right.
mine, but
I
that's
know,
what I
but
try. I
still.
like every night when I go to bed, I just like before I fall asleep, I just try to think
Yes,
about my
yes,
day and
yes.
I'm grateful and I'm like, thank you for this bed. It's comfortable. I'm not hot. I'm not cold. My belly is full and thank you. And I just
I'm
try to say
grateful.
thank you.
You know, I'm grateful, but I forget. But I forget to thank. You know what I'm saying? I always
It'll make
forget.
you feel better. I promise you. And you
No,
know,
no.
that's what you lay down to and that's what you fall asleep to. It helps your sleep, in my opinion.
That's good because my sleep has been all over the place since COVID.
Oh, I
It's a little
know.
weird.
And
It's
dreams.
my sleep and my memory. It's weird, but I think everyone's been complaining about the same thing, so I don't feel so bad. But
I
let's see what
mean,
happens.
this is a big deal. We're gonna have PTSD from this shit. We
Well,
are.
if it helps my comedy joke writing, if I get new material out of it, that's fine. I'm still working. Let's see what happens. I can't wait to hit the stage. I hope everything opens up. Maybe by Christmas, we'll have a nice Christmas. We'll have shows in New York. We'll have more
Hopefully.
shows in Denver.
That would be nice. Yeah, I mean, you know, we've had New York comics roll through and do stuff.
Yeah. Oh, we're allowed to go. Cool. We don't have to.
Yeah, no, because you guys flatten the curve.
Okay. Okay. So okay. Yeah. So it's open. We can walk in and just do our thing.
As far as I can tell.
Okay. It's the other states
Don't
that
fuck
when
it
they.
up.
Oh no. I wash my hands. And don't worry about it. No, I'm next year. I'll hopefully be doing some traveling. So maybe I'll come out to Denver,
Yeah, for
see
sure.
what's going on.
Come.
Colorado.
Colorado, come smoke some weed.
I'll see what I can do. No, no, no. That's another story. That's another story. But yeah,
Story for another time.
story for another time. Mo Vida, thank you for coming on. You've been
Thanks
great.
for having me. Sorry for such a serious conversation.
No, not at all. Not at all. Shout out to everybody in Denver.
Thank you. And
My
sending you
love.
my love in New York, and tell everybody hi.
Lisa, and we have a date again for Wednesday night, right?
Yeah.
And what is that? You want to plug it?
Oh
Wink, wink.
yeah. I have an IG live show. It's called 7 Minutes in Quarantine, and it's a take on 7 Minutes in Heaven, but we're not in heaven. And I do 7-minute interviews with my guests.
Awesome. So I got to be ready
It starts
for
at 11 p.m. Eastern. It's
okay.
late.
So just like this, I'll just chime in.
Yep.
Oh, goody.
You just
Now,
come on,
I'm gonna be.
and I'll invite you in when I'm ready for you, and then I'll set my timer, and we'll talk for 7 minutes.
Awesome. I'll be ready. I'll be working out.
I have a good question for you.
Thank you. Awesome. I can't wait.
Thanks
7
for
minutes in
letting
heaven.
me do this.
11 Mo Vida. Right here on Instagram, the new channel. We don't need cable. We don't need cable. Do you have your YouTube up yet?
No, I like my day job, so I'm not doing YouTube.
Okay. Oh, got it. Yeah, okay. All right. Wink, wink. Got it. No worries. We're working on the future. Mo Vida, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Totally appreciate
it. See you.
And see you on Wednesday. Good luck.
All right, bye. Mwah. Love you. Take care.
Take care. Mo Vida, everybody. Denver, Colorado. Thank you for coming on, Mo. Much love. I'll see you Wednesday, and I'll definitely see you again here in New York and hopefully in the near future at a comedy club where we'll both be on stage. Boy, won't that be nice? The things we took for granted. Anyway, thank you for watching another episode of Hot Pudge IG Live. This was episode 30. If you want to see one of the other 29 episodes, go to my YouTube channel, Hot Pudge Sunday. Again, my YouTube channel is Hot Pudge Sunday. Go subscribe now. I got Hot Pudge IG Lives. I had some Facebook Lives. I got some stand-up comedy. I also had some segments. What was my segment I did? Oh, I had 6 feet, 6 questions. I did a segment where I went around all New York City interviewing different comedians from 6 feet away. So it was 6 feet, 6 questions. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to be rolling that out again with some new episodes, but check it out. Hot Pudge Sunday on my YouTube channel. Guys, be safe. See you in the next show.